Hello, everybody. For those of you who I have not yet met, my name is Tracie Jae. In business and in life, I am the quiet rebel. My work in the world is creating incremental and organic shifts to the status quo with a more human approach and with love first always. And I am with my friend Megan, and we are about to do something together for the first time in a long while. We've done things together before, but it's time to do something together again. So, Megan, is there any way that you would like to introduce yourself to the people before we start talking about our thing that we're going to do together?
Thanks, Tracie. Before I talk to the people, I just want to talk to you and just say my heart is so happy just when I hear you speak and I hear that we get to work together. It does bring me such joy. It makes me very proud. It always makes me think and listen and just create a little differently. So I'm just so delighted to be here. To everyone else, welcome to Seattle, Washington. That's where I'm calling from. It is the end of 2024, and I'm thinking about 2025 and what it's going to take. And I'm looking at it a little differently than I might have in the past. So I'm trying to do what I said that I did with Tracie. I'm trying to listen differently. I'm trying to learn differently. I'm trying to perhaps use a different set of words. So I am excited about what we're about to do together. January always feels like a sort of a tough month. It takes a little while to get some momentum. I know for up here in the Pacific Northwest, it's dark still, it's wet, it can be dreary. So I feel like this is an uplift and a joyous thing that we're about to start.
Oh, yay. Okay, so if you're out there listening, show of hands if you have seen the movie Wicked. Maybe you haven't seen the movie, but maybe you saw the stage play. Maybe you read the book, right? But if you are familiar at all with the concept Wicked, Megan and I are going to do Wicked-ish Wednesdays. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm a little excited about that.
Me too.
Are you too? Are you excited, Megan? Okay.
I'm really excited about that.
Okay. I can't stop smiling. It's ridiculous. So first of all, or second of all, I don't know where we are in our counting. Growing up, The Wizard of Oz was always at the top of my movie favorites. And even carrying out through my adult life, it stayed near the top of the list. And I was introduced to Wicked as the stage play, the musical. And I remember bawling at the end and thinking about the whole backstory of The Wizard of Oz and how maybe I got it wrong. Right.
Yeah.
And then when I heard that Wicked was going to be a movie and that Cynthia Erivo was in it, and it was going to be a musical, I was like, come on, they're teasing me. I'm being punked right now. This cannot all be real at the same time. But they did do all of those things. And I have seen it twice so far. By the time you all see this, I may have seen it again. And I'm just I'm blown away. I'm blown away by the movie. I'm blown away by the production. I'm blown away by the story. And I don't know how many of y'all use Marco Polo. But Megan and I and our friend Shannon, we have an ongoing Marco Polo thread, which is for those of you who are unfamiliar with Marco Polo, it's video text messaging that you can receive in real time, or you can watch whenever you get a chance to watch it. And so Shannon and I had both seen Wicked, and we were back and forth on the Marco Polo thread, talking about it. And I was like, wait, Megan hasn't seen it yet. We don't want to spoil it. Hold on.
You're so kind. So kind.
I was trying so hard.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, Megan, please let us know when you've seen it, because we got to talk about it. And then she saw it. She came back, and then I didn't have no questions.
I had so much in my head. Because I hadn't seen the Broadway performance. I read the book a little to start, and then I think I did it when my kids were little, so got distracted. I knew there was a perspective of the character that we didn't know. But then when I watched the movie, I'm a big note taker. Tracie knows this. She speaks Megan, which is why I love her. So I'm in my head. I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta check in about that. I gotta check in about this. What about this? So I was blown away as well, for a lot of reasons. Not just because of the theatrical, not because of the story, the connection to everything in the world right now. There's so much about it. I really loved how those two women supported each other, lifted each other up. In the movie, there's certainly that bumpy part at the beginning, and then you sort of watch their relationship develop. But I just felt so I don't know, impressed. It was impactful for sure.
Well, out of our mutual enjoyment and the myriad of questions and discussion points that were raised, we decided we should have this conversation with more than just us.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so Wickedish Wednesdays was born. And so here's the official invitation, right? From us to you, officially. Please join us on Wednesdays, beginning January 8th, at 7:30 Central Time. Is that right? 7:30 or 7 o'clock? 7:30.
7:30.
7:30 Central Time.
5:30 Pacific time. Yep.
8:30 Eastern Time.
6:30 Mountain Time.
6:30 Mountain Time.
We got you covered.
The time zone math is not our friends, y'all. It's not our friends.
And if you're in Hawaii or Alaska, reach out. We will tell you what time, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or just Google it. That's also a thing. Just ask your phone. Hey Siri, what time is it in Alaska? Oh no, Siri, I didn't mean that. I didn't really want to talk to you right now.
It's 10:52 a.m.
Thank you, Siri.
Of course.
Thank you for modeling that. That was great. That's what you do.
That's what we do. And so Megan and I speak each other's language really well. And also our languages tend to complement each other. So while I am sort of like, yes, let's do this thing together and let's set up sort of broad structure for how this will go. Megan is more like, okay, I need to know minute by minute what's going to happen, how it's going to look, what are the people coming for, what are we going to tell them? And so we met in the middle, right? There's definitely a structure for each week. We will share with those who register what the weeks look like in advance so you can plan. And also, we're going to leave some space for whatever happens naturally, right? I said when I introduced myself that like my work in the world is about incremental and organic shifts. And so like if everything is structured and planned to the letter and to the T, like we don't have space for incremental and organic, right? So there's a good mix. There's a good mix of both things, right? I also really appreciated that, like, because of the way Megan's brain works, like she wrote it all out. She sent me a screenshot of like what the goals are for this time together. And so let me share with you what the goals are that Megan wrote, right? So connection, discussion, perspective, reframing, understanding, and action. And all of those things align so well with like who I try to be in the world, and also like what I want people to walk away with whenever we get a chance to work together. All right. Do you want to say more about these words?
I love working with you and learning from you. And by being in Marco Polo, some of the things that we talk about have a lot of, they have a lot of like, I don't want to say lessons, but they stay with me. And so these are some of those that stay with me, like how people connect, how they discuss. I try to shift my perspective a lot lately, especially from where I've grown up, what I have known to be my own experience. And I try to reframe going forward. I try to understand a little bit more. If I don't understand, I try to learn a little bit more. And definitely selfishly or not selfishly, just as a mom, as a friend, as an auntie, as a sister, all the things. As a human, I'm looking for what action I can do in this next year that feels like purposeful, and I'm just unsure. So the vulnerable part of me is unsure what next year will look like. So in that uncertainty, I thought, okay, well, what if through having these conversations, some of that uncertainty and unsureness moves to the side, and some of these others take up that space. To your point of making space, I feel like when we make space, these things can grow. Because I'm with you, you know me. I like write these things out. I draw them because it helps my brain. But then I usually step away from them because I think the space, the pause, the what can be created when people get together, that's where we can problem solve for the things that are around the corner. I don't know what's around the corner. I get a little nervous about January. And this was like my hope, to have a space where people could come. You know, every time I have been in these learning situations with you, whether we've learned about when you talked about the Constitution, when you shared your No New Friends, right? Some of the initiatives that you've done, I come away with something special. That's like a new thing that I wear. You know, it's a new look for me. It's a new way. So that's what I'm excited about for January. So I'm going to keep with these 6. They could float in and out throughout the day. You know, there's probably some not negative, but there's some real ones too in that. There's like frustration. There is an absolute challenge of looking at foolishness and accepting foolishness. So that's the underside of these 6.
And maybe like Elphaba, maybe we're not accepting foolishness. Maybe we are challenging the foolishness. Maybe we're standing up to the foolishness. Maybe we're finding our own way of elevating, right? Defying gravity.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Gravity is the thing that tries to pull you down. And sometimes we have to figure out how to defy it, right?
Yeah.
So
how she looks. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go.
When she looks up, like when they talk about her being so grounded, because she has just seen, she's been othered. People have thought that she was wicked rather than brave. You and I talked about this. And then she looks up to what is possible. It's a metaphor, or just a terrific demonstration. So I really liked that piece.
Yeah. And I think a lot of us are walking into 2025 with some degree of uncertainty, and maybe frustration, and maybe denial, and throughout the year, the Quiet Rebel organization will do a series of workshops and activities based around stories that shape us. And all of the first quarter is going to be about fairy tales and fables. And so So I'm excited to like kick off January talking about this particular story, which sort of is on the line between a fairy tale and a fable. The difference, the way I see the difference between a fairy tale and a fable, fairy tales point us in the direction of happy endings, and fables point us in the direction of lessons. And I think we need both, right? We need to have something to hope for, happy endings, and we also need to be like grounded in reality and learning lessons from the things that try to shake us. And so I can't think of a better story or story pairing, The Wizard of Oz and Wicked, to like kick off a year-long conversation around stories that shape us. And I can't think of a better person who I could do this with. It just makes my heart so happy.
Gosh, I feel that. From Houston to Seattle, I totally feel that. That's why I love this too. I feel like this is an arc, this story. And you know how we said the endings, how did we say it? It's written down somewhere.
Not all endings are the end of the story.
So I feel like this is really important right now about this story, because I think it started as a fairy tale and it feels like a fable, because the lesson of how and who has been left out, and how do they stand, how do they show their strength, show their bravery, show their vulnerability, have partners, have support, work together, you know?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. For those of you who are already sort of familiar with who I am and what I do, you may come into this thinking that this conversation is overtly political. I want you to know that it's not. And I want you to know that the world is political. So if politics comes into this conversation, it is because it organically happens and not because it is there by design. We will look at the themes that are present in this story and discuss them. We will look at how these stories relate to the world we live in and to who we are as human beings. But I try to do that with all my work, right? And so if that feels political to you, that's okay. Embrace that. But I don't want us to walk into this with like this political cloak on, like the cloak that Elpha Batada had on her at the end of the film, right? I'm not asking us to wrap up in a cloak. I'm just asking us to come as we are and to bring our full selves and to be as honest as you can be. I'll also add that we won't be recording these conversations so that people can feel free to say exactly what's in their heads and hearts in the moment, knowing full well that sometimes when we say things that are present in our head and our heart, that those things change. That you might feel that way in this moment and you might not feel that way at all tomorrow, and that's okay too. And I don't want anybody who shows up in any of these spaces to feel like they can't be 100% who they are right now.
What an invitation. What a beautiful invitation. That's why I love joining your work, because it feels like you can practice being brave. You can practice showing up, thinking differently, holding things, maybe practice pausing and not being so responsive so you can understand a fuller context. I'll tell you, one of the things that I remember as a kid from this movie was I hated that witch. I hated, and I think her name was Margaret, I forget her last name. The image of her on the bike and the image of her like just always stuck with me. And I remember watching then later on in life how that impacted her. And I hadn't thought about it until we started talking about this, about how her life, how someone had prescribed that she would be an evil character, and that probably stayed with her, and how children were afraid of her, and how folks probably just treated her so poorly based on something that was just in a moment of time. She went on Mr. Rogers, and Mr. Rogers did this beautiful job of trying to just show her loving side and show that was just a character. And I started to think, wow, that woman, she took that role as like an opportunity, and how it just changed the trajectory of her life, and maybe not in a good way. So yeah, I love this invitation, and I'm excited to see who comes. I'm super excited to see who joins us, because I think we are just so fly. Who wouldn't want to spend time with us?
Do people still say fly?
I don't know. I don't think
either.
so. No, it's back in the 80s. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I mean, we are fly, and I don't care if people still say fly or not. I'm just saying, we are that.
Okay, then I'll say low key. We are just the ish. I don't know if that's even works. I probably should stop.
We're not gonna do that. I don't know.
I hang with high schoolers. I'm trying to learn.
Be who we are. We are not gonna be who they are.
Right. Thank you. Reset.
Here's how to find the information and how to register. thequietrebel.org. It is right on the homepage. It's also at a banner at the top of the page, so it's easy to find. If for some reason you can't find it when you get to that page, please let me know. My email address is human@thequietrebel.org. So please reach out. And I can't wait to see y'all. Like, I'm so excited to have this conversation. And you didn't ask me this, but I'm gonna tell you anyway. We're starting on January 8th, which is my birthday.
I didn't know if you wanted that known, but I wanted to celebrate January 8th. What a great birthday present for Tracie.
That would make I hadn't really planned on how I was celebrating my birthday yet this year, but that would be the best birthday party if I get to celebrate with y'all. So please come hang out with me on my birthday. And in all the Wednesdays that follow in January. It's going to be great.
It's going to be great. I'm excited. It's given me such a good feeling about January.
Okay. Last words, last thoughts.
I hope people join us. And if they can't join in January, then pay attention to what Tracie's got going for the rest of the year. She is so good at helping people walk the path of life. We're all human, and we're all trying to walk this path with some grace and some challenge and some uncertainty, and hopefully a lot of love. You started this conversation talking about love. I'm committed to love, even in 2025. Love.
Ooh, even in 2025. I'm gonna blow some bubbles about that.
Love will reign, won't it?
It will. Because sometimes that's all we have.
Yeah.
Love and each other. And we're going to hold on to those two things going into this year. And we're going to start with Wednesdays and talking about Wicked and all the great things that we're learning from this movie, from this story. So bring your hearts, bring yourselves, come as you are, and let's have a conversation.
Let's have a conversation. Thanks, Tracie Jae.
Thank you, Megan.